The next task to complete in Module 1, our problem solving module, is lab number 1 on problem solving. Here I'm just going to give you the instructions and briefly unpack the two tasks on the lab for you. So the first task on our lab is called the cookie jar problem, and I'll read it and we'll talk a little bit about it. There was a jar of cookies on the table. Lauren was hungry because she hadn't eaten breakfast, so she ate half the cookies. Then Kaylee came along and noticed the cookies. She thought they looked good, so she ate a third of what was left in the jar. Hannah came by and decided to take a fourth of the remaining cookies with her to her next class. Then Charlotte came dashing up and took a cookie to munch on. When James looked at the cookie jar, he saw that there were 2 cookies left. How many cookies were in the jar to begin with? He asked Lauren. My first bit of advice is to read the problem a couple times. Make sure you understand what's happening as we've done in the past. Try and make a list of all the things you know. Try to understand what it is that you want to know. In this case, how many cookies were left in the jar to begin with. There are several ways you can attack this. You've probably seen problems like this. Where you know what happens at the end but not the beginning, so working backwards might be a solution. You can also work forwards by guessing and checking. Drawing a picture is a good strategy that you could use here as well. A lot of different ways that you can get into this problem. So good luck with the cookie jar problem. The second task on this lab is called On Target. If you were to hit the if you were to hit the dartboard shown with 3 darts, what are all the possible total scores? So again, thinking about the things that we know, I know I'm going to throw 3 darts. I know that they're all going to hit the board. I know that they can land in the 1 and the 5 or the 10. What I want to figure out is what are all the possible total scores that I can score. These types of questions inevitably come down to how do you know when you found all of the possible combinations? And so in doing this, you might want to think about making an organized list of all the different ways you could hit the dartboard. An organized list will make sure that you haven't left off any possible combinations. Make sure that you think about whether you should consider or not consider the order of the darts in which they're thrown and how that does or does not affect the possible total score. And again, in both of these, you're going to download the lab. It's on Canvas under the lab folder. You're going to print it out. I want you to do your work on the pages that are there. Complete the 2 problems. Show your work. Even if it's messy, that's okay. And if you make some starts and stops, that's okay. At the end, I want you to briefly explain your process in words. Try and do that as clearly as you can. So if you used a particular strategy, tell me, I worked backwards, or I used guess and check, or I drew a picture. Show your work. Try to annotate it along the way. So if you drew a picture, try and tell me what that picture is of. And then make sure at the end that your final answer is clearly identified. So if we're asking how many cookies were there originally in the jar, somewhere you should say there were blank cookies in the jar originally. And if you're answering the on target task, the different possible total scores are blah, 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 blah. Okay. After you've had them done, after you've completed it, I want you to scan those or take a picture of those, and you're going to submit it to Canvas. Make sure when you save that file and you submit it, label your file as your last name. So mine would say Tyminski _ lab1. Okay. If you have questions, feel free to reach out via email, and good luck.